The Chicago Bulls have extended Billy Donovan to a multi-year deal. We got to talk about should the Bulls have actually made this move and why this is not the end of the world as most Bulls fans want it to be. We'll talk about all that more in today's episode of the Chicago Bulls Breeze. Let's go. If you are rocking with the channel, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago Bulls. I would like to say daily on this channel, but y'all know I'm wearing a lot of hats right now with the Bears up at training camp and stuff like that. So we're dropping as much as we can over here. We're trying to hit all the breaking news, all that good stuff. But stay tapped in with us here over on the Chicago Bulls Breeze, because when the season starts, we'll be dropping a heck of a lot more. We got to get into this Billy Donovan news, as Billy Donovan has been extended by the Chicago Bulls per Shams Charania to a multi-year deal. Breathe, Bulls fans. I understand that we're looking at what has happened here in Chicago because everybody's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that you could have ever done. Why would you extend him? It makes no sense. Well, let's start off with this, right? Let's start off with the facts of what has happened here. You had 1 year left on this deal. If you were going to re-sign and try and work on the long term of this with Josh Giddey, there probably is a want to keep the same head coach in place. To me, this is very similar to what we see in the NFL, where it is an alignment thing, not a, hey, I think this is the greatest coach in the world thing. And Billy Donovan actually had a nice second half run that most Bulls fans were sitting there looking at and going, oh, that's actually fairly impressive on how he finished out the season, with how he had this young Chicago Bulls team playing, with what we saw out of Giddey, with what we saw out of Kobe, with what we saw out of Modest. I mean, there were a lot of positives in the second half of that season that you can't just ignore when taking this all into account, especially if you're somebody who's in the camp of paying Josh Giddey, which I understand. I'm in the camp of paying Josh Giddey, but also everything we have to go on his best numbers here with the Chicago Bulls is in that same second half of the season. Early on in the season, Josh Giddey was not hitting his stride. He was not getting buckets. He wasn't even giving you the assist numbers that you were looking for, but it's because there were other pieces that were in place that probably were in his way. Got those pieces out of the way. All of a sudden, Josh Giddey's out here balling out of his mind. Billy Donovan is a part of that. So if you're in the camp of get this deal done with Josh Giddey, I'm very surprised that people aren't in the camp of paying Billy Donovan as well. But Billy Donovan has a lot more of a tenure here with the Chicago Bulls, and so you're pulling on everything else that you're seeing from this Bulls team in his history. And here is my big takeaway, and it will always be my big takeaway for Billy Donovan, because people want to talk about Billy Donovan as if he is the worst coach to ever grace this team. Jim Boylan was here. Fred Hoiberg was here. Oh, but we did more with Fred. Fred had better talented players on his team. Talent means more in the NBA than in any other sport in the world. The talent that you have will dictate the success of your coach. There are only a couple of coaches in the NBA that can transcend that. Greg Popovich, who's the greatest coach in NBA history, couldn't transcend that over the last 7-8 years. Talent means more than coaching. Coaching means a lot, but it doesn't mean nearly as much if you don't have the team that's talented to go out there and win. Oh, but the Bulls had Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Do we remember how much Zach LaVine was banged up for that Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan run? So really, for a lot of that, you truly just had DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. Well, that should still be enough to get it done in the Eastern Conference. Well, guess what? DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge wasn't enough to win playoff games with the greatest coach of all time. I'm supposed to believe that Billy Donovan is going to just pick this team up and get them through the playoffs and have them dominating. Talent means more than anything. And the reason that I say this is because if you give Billy Donovan the talent he needs to succeed, guess what? He never had a problem making the NBA playoffs and winning in the NBA playoffs when he was in Oklahoma City, and they were continuing to give him young talent that he could work with. They were continuing to give him star talent that he could work with. Now, again, I've told y'all from the beginning, go back and tap in to before Billy Donovan was hired, right after we fired Jim Boylan on the Windy City Breeze. My video is, do not hire Billy Donovan, because I don't think that he gets you to a championship level. I don't think that he gets you over the hump. And maybe that's the reason why you don't want to sign him. But at this point, you're trying to continue to build on what you currently have. Changing the head coach is not going to be the best situation there. Oh, well, you could have let him play out this year. Well, it's probably a little bit tougher to get Josh Giddey to sign if he thinks the head coach may not be here in a year. I would think that Josh Giddey, going through everything that he's gone through and getting to the point with this whole, it seems like there's some tension here with the front office and stuff like that. They need to show some gestures of stability. You also had the New York Knicks, middle of the season, picking up the phone and calling, well, not middle of the season, end of the season, picking up the phone and calling, blowing up the spot, saying, hey, we would love to hire your currently hired coach. But that's a whole different video. At the end of the day, here's my takeaway from Billy Donovan. Always has been, always will be. He's the same as most of these coaches in the NBA that people want to give a ton of credit to. Mike Malone. Oh, my God, Mike Malone won a championship with Nikola Jokic. Yeah, Nikola Jokic is the driving force in that. Mike Malone has some of the worst rotations in the NBA. Literally rotations that just didn't make sense. How's Jamal Murray playing 22 minutes today? He's Jamal Murray. Oh, well, Mike Budenholzer was out there. Mike Budenholzer. I would argue that Mike Budenholzer and Frank Vogel both have a worse scheme than Billy Donovan is currently running for this team. Now, if you want to get in a Taylor Jenkins conversation, I'm willing to have that conversation. I think Taylor Jenkins is the best coaching candidate on the market right now. He's the one I would have wanted to see replace the Billy Donovan if there ever was an opportunity for him to replace Billy Donovan, but he is still not hired. There's always that opportunity that even after a deal is signed that somebody can be moved on from if there's an interest. We know how these NBA contracts work. Like, to me, this is not the big deal that some Bulls fans are trying to make it out to be, because if Modest Buzelis continues to develop, which he did under Billy Donovan, if Ayo Dosunmu has a healthy season and continues to get better in the role that he now has as that sixth man off the bench, which he did last season under Billy Donovan, if we see Kobe White continue to take on that role of being a lead scorer on this team, which he did under Billy Donovan, and you add in Josh Giddey, who had one of the best portions of his career in numbers-wise and talent-wise, and, I mean, honestly, when you talk about leading a team, really taking on that mantle under Billy Donovan, those are things that you probably didn't want to change right now. So am I sitting here ecstatic that Billy Donovan's back? No, I'm not. Like, it is what it is. But am I losing my mind saying this is the worst move that the Chicago Bulls could have made? No, the worst move would have been if you fired Billy Donovan and hired Mike Budenholzer or Frank Vogel or Monty Williams. Because they're all coaches who are, yes, some of them have rings. Some of them have been to the finals. Billy's been to the Western Conference Finals. Like, some of them have had the ultimate success, right? Very much player-led. Mike Budenholzer could never get over that hump anywhere else and never even got close to the level of success that we saw with him here in Chicago or here in Milwaukee. Doc Rivers, a championship head coach. People think about him as a bottom third coach in the league. Yes, I get there's rings attached to some of these names, but that does not mean that they are the better option. And I think that's my biggest thing with all of this. You can fire Billy Donovan. That's great. Okay, what's the next move? Remember the last time we did that? Firing Fred Hoiberg, right? Fred was getting you to the playoffs. It wasn't great, but you had Jimmy Butler. You had the talent to get you to the playoffs. You knew you needed to improve on that. So you just fired him, and you didn't have a game plan, and then you hired Jim Boylan. Just moving on for the sake of moving on is not always the move. And the good thing is that in the NBA, as you continue to develop talent, there's always that opportunity. This is a young team. Billy Donovan will not outlive this team, even though it may feel that way. Oh, but we've seen teams that have more success fire their coaches. Let's not look at teams that are failed organizations as well just because they had more success and wanted to fire their coach and say that's the better option. Is the Suns who you want to look at? Because that ain't the better option. Lakers, that's who you want to look at? Maybe that's the better option. I give you that, but it wasn't with Darvin Ham. But I mean, maybe you get to JJ Redick eventually. The Knicks are who you want to look at. We'll see how long the wheels stay on that horse. Cart. Pilot wheels on a horse. I understand it's not like the best case scenario to bring Billy back. I understand he's not the greatest coach in the NBA. I'm not lauding him as that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys this is the worst move the Chicago Bulls could have made. It's not. To me, it's honestly the only move the Bulls could have made outside of going and finding somebody at the college game that you feel can take a shot at the NBA game, because there's no one out there who makes this team better except maybe Taylor Jenkins. That probably would have been the best move. But hey, let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. I'll be down to talk with you guys as well. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. See Red Nation, stand up. Everybody breathe. I just need y'all to breathe with me for us. Breathe. We will be just as mediocre as we were last year heading into this season. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. See Red Nation. Peace.